All right, welcome back. We thank you for staying with us. We continue with our conversation. Before we took a break, Mr. Odinga, you were talking about cohesion in the country and saying, how important it is for the country to move together and to move forward. And you were talking about an all-inclusive government. But I would like to ask you about the thoughts by your chief strategist, David Ndii, who in a number of articles talks about Project Kenya failed and perhaps going into a divorce. And there's talk of cessation in the country at the moment, and he's tweeting this petition that is gaining momentum. So is this an official party position? Is this an official coalition position? Would you be seeking a breakaway of this country? I know you're talking about cohesion, but it speaks volumes when your chief strategist is talking about cessation on social media and on a number of platforms. What is your position on this issue?
No, I think that you misunderstood David Ndii. When I understood it, I understood him to say that he had received that tweet from some other people and had just also forwarded it, transmitted it to other people to look at it and say that this is an idea and that it is always nice for people to debate, discuss these issues rather than dismissing them offhand. And this has been a very healthy debate going on throughout the country.
But he has talked about, let's perhaps consider divorce if Project Kenya isn't working.
That's what other people have said.
No, he's talked about it in articles that he has written in the paper.
He said people should look at, do we really have all the ingredients of an inclusive society where all people are free and feel that they are catered for?
Do you think we do?
I don't think so. And, but I think that it is possible to create a conducive environment that will create this country, hold this country together. I have not given hope on Project Kenya, but I think that it is the leadership that we have in this country which is actually leading people into desperation. When you see people begin to entertain those kind of ideas and views, it tells you that something is seriously wrong with Project Kenya and that this needs to be fixed.
And what is seriously wrong with Project Kenya in your view?
I think it is the leadership that we have had, which has actually made the realization of the Kenyan dream elusive. And that is what we really need to address. Because I think that the people who actually have no clear vision as to what is our destination, and they say that he or she who does not know where they're going can never get lost. Okay,
so what are the sort of nuts and bolts and the issues that you believe are wrong with this country? You say it's the leadership. So what about the leadership divides this country? And I would remind you that you are a very important part of this leadership of this country. You have held various positions. So is it a they question, or is it all inclusive when you look at yourself and think about your time in this country, some of the contributions you have made to politics, to leadership, to government, to policy and to legislation?
Yvonne, for a longer time that I've been in politics here, I've been in the opposition. But for the shorter period that I've been in government, I have introduced fundamental changes. You can see I was very instrumental in introducing the new constitution. After over 50 years of a single party dictatorship, we were able to come up and discuss and bring a new constitution that really, you could say, laid a firm foundation for Project Kenya in that period. Then we had a coalition government, which everybody will tell you was really the best government that Kenya has had since independence.
The coalition government?
Yes.
You consider that the best government this country has had, despite the challenges that existed for you personally?
The most inclusive. There were challenges which I faced, but we were able to resolve them. There are times when there were standoffs because I saw, for example, the push towards backtracking on the gains that had come, and I would resist them. That well, we now have a new constitutional dispensation. We must do things differently. But you know, the old order dies hard. In other words, you now have, for example, a new constitution. But you have got those who did not believe in it, those who opposed it, and those whom we called the watermelons, who are now in charge of implementing this new constitution.
One of the person who's called a watermelon is actually your running mate.
That is, I'm not aware.
You're not aware that people call your running mate a watermelon?
I know the watermelons were there at that time. I was spearheading the campaign for the new constitution. You remember that my running mates stood with me when the original Boma's draft constitution was being bastardized in Parliament. He was one of the cabinet ministers who were able to stand out and say no. And we formed the Orange Movement jointly with him. We were together. At that time, even the president was also with us in Orange, and even the deputy president. But then things changed when then we came.
All right, so Mr. Odinga, what is this that has changed? Because you say there's a new constitution, there's a new way of doing things, but then things go back. So when you talk about an inclusive government that you desire, is that it? And by inclusive, what do you mean? Does it mean that once we have as many people represented in this government, then all of Project Kenya's problems are over? We certainly cannot fit, more than 40 communities into cabinet, for example. And is it as simple as that Asamburu becomes a cabinet secretary or a president and, voila, all of Kenya's problems are solved? Issues of nepotism, of family appointments, for example.
Yvonne, I asked Mr. Olekaparo to produce to you list of senior appointments in government positions. You will be shocked if that list is produced to you, which will confirm what I'm talking about. But here, the new constitution has made provisions for popular participation in governance through devolution. Devolution, it was supposed to be the answer. But this government has continued to frustrate the devolution by denying resources going down as was envisaged. And that's one reason why we said ourselves as NASA that we will devolve more responsibilities to the county government, and we'll also devolve more resources to the county government and retain only those functions which cut across at the national level, and that the national government should then be more content with supervision of work being done at the county levels.
So for you, devolution is the answer, not divorce?
Not divorce. Devolution is the answer.
Have you had this conversation with Dr. David D, and what does he think about it? Because he has some very strong views on that, and some view that as being perhaps a conversation you've had. What does that happen like when he's writing about divorce? And let's not beat about the bush here. He has talked about that this project isn't working. The cessation story aside, he has been very categorical on that issue and saying that perhaps it's time we speak divorce. Do you share that view, and what sort of conversations have you had with him about that?
You see, we have a very democratic institution, NASA. People are certainly entitled to their individual views. And discussions, debate is actually encouraged. So David has the passion for that, is encouraging debate. As I told you, it is work in progress. We don't have a particular position on that discussion. We are not discouraging it either, because actually that is freedom of opinion, and he is entitled to his views. My view, as I mentioned to you, is that this project Kenya can work if, for example, you have a government that would like to realize the Kenyan dream as coined by the founding fathers of our nation.
Okay, all right. We're taking another quick break. We will be right back with more on that conversation. Our closing comments with Mr. Raila Odinga, even as we prepare for October the 17th. He says it can be moved to a little later. What are your thoughts? Keep them coming in. We'll be right back.